Unit 2B, Past Continuous. As we learned in Unit 1C on present continuous, tense is when something happens in time. English has 3 tenses: past, present, and future. The present is an event that happens now. The past is an event that happens before now, and the future is an event that happens after now. As we also learned in Unit 1C on present continuous, aspect is when something happens in time relative to another event in time. Simple aspect requires no additional verb. Simple past is an action that happened before now. For example, yesterday she walked to the market. Walked is the past simple. There is no additional verb. Continuous, as we learned in Unit 1C, requires one additional verb. Continuous, past continuous, is an action in progress in the past. She was walking to the market. Was is the additional verb in the past, and the ing on walking shows that it's continuous. Was walking, past continuous. We use past continuous to describe an action in progress at a specific moment in the past. For example, before this lesson, Dr. Eastland was talking on the phone. We also use it to describe the situation at the beginning of a story or narrative. For example, at the beginning of the movie, the hero was feeling good. In order to form past continuous, you have the subject of the sentence plus be in the past tense with the appropriate form for the subject, plus the base form of the verb, plus ing. For example, I was talking on the phone. I is the subject. Was is the past tense form of the I subject verb. Talking is the base form of the verb plus ing. All the different forms of the verb to be in the past are I was, she was, he was, it was, you were, we were, they were. When you form the past continuous, you will use one of these forms of the verb be in the past. For example, the I was can be used, I was going camping. She was going camping. You were going camping. We were going camping. They were going camping. So to form the regular form of past continuous, it's the subject plus the appropriate form of the verb be in the past tense plus the base form of the verb plus ing. For example, I was making the bed. She was making the bed. You were making the bed. We were making the bed. They were making the bed. In order to form the past continuous in a question, you start with the appropriate form of the verb be in the past tense, then you have the subject, then the base form of the verb plus ing. For example, was I taking a flight to New Mexico? Was he taking a flight to New Mexico? Were you taking a flight to New Mexico? Were we taking a flight to New Mexico? Were they taking a flight to New Mexico? To form the negative form of the past continuous, you have the subject plus the appropriate form of the verb be in the past tense, plus the word not, plus the base form of the verb, plus ing. For example, I was not swimming last week. He was not swimming last week. You were not swimming last week. We were not swimming last week. They were not swimming last week. If you would like to form the contraction form of the negative, you will have the subject plus the verb be in the past tense plus n apostrophe t plus the base form of the verb plus ing. So was not becomes wasn't. For example, I wasn't waiting for my friends. She was not, he was not, or it was not becomes wasn't. She wasn't. He wasn't. It wasn't. He wasn't waiting for his friends. You were not becomes weren't. You weren't waiting for your friends. We were not becomes weren't. We weren't waiting for our friends. They were not becomes weren't. They were not waiting for their friends. If you wish to form the negative contraction in a question, all you'll do is combine the negative contraction form with the question form. You will have the appropriate form of the verb be in the past tense plus the nt, like the negative contraction form, and the subject after the verb be, just like in the question form. So was I not become wasn't I? Wasn't I helping her read the book? Was she, he, or it not becomes wasn't? Wasn't he helping her read the book? Were you not becomes weren't? Weren't you helping her read the book? Were we not becomes weren't? Weren't we helping her read the book? And were they not becomes weren't? Weren't they helping her read the book? To review, past continuous is an ongoing action before now. The regular formation of the past continuous is the subject plus the appropriate form of the verb be in the past tense plus the base form of the verb plus ing. For example, we were learning about past continuous. To form a question in the past continuous, you start with the verb be in the appropriate form in the past tense, then you have the subject, and then you have the base form of the verb plus ing. For example, were we learning about past continuous? To form the past continuous in the negative, you have the subject plus the appropriate form of the verb be plus the word not plus the base form of the verb and ing. For example, we were not learning about past continuous. If you want to have the contraction form of the negative, you have the subject plus the appropriate form of the verb be in the past tense. You add n''t to the end of the appropriate form of the verb be in the past tense, and then you have the base form of the verb plus ing. For example, we weren't learning about past continuous. And if you wish to have a negative contraction in a question, you combine the question form with the negative contraction form. For example, be in the appropriate form in the past tense, and you put the n''t at the end. Then you have the subject. Then you have the base form of the verb plus ing. Weren't we learning about past continuous? Now that we have learned about past continuous, let's practice it. Please go in your textbook to page 129, Part 2B, Section A. In this exercise, you will complete the sentences with a verb in the past continuous. Number 1, I took this photo when my wife blank the garden using the verb work. Number 2, he met his wife when he blank in Japan using the verb live. Number 3, they blank for us when we arrived using the verb not wait. Number 4, blank she blank a coat when she went out using the verb wear. Number 5, the sun blank when I left for work using the verb shine. Number 6, what blank you blank at 7:30 last night using the verb do. Number 7, I blank when you gave the instructions using the not listen form. Number 8, we blank TV when you phoned using not watch. Please pause the video now and complete the exercises on your own. Start the video again when you have completed the exercises. Let's go over the answers together. Number 1, I took this photo when my wife was working in the garden. Wife is the subject and it's singular, So the verb of being should be was, which is singular past tense. Number 2, he met his wife when he was living in Japan. The subject is he, which is singular, so the proper form of be is was, which is singular past tense. Number 3, they were not waiting for us when we arrived. They is the subject and it is plural, so the appropriate form of the verb be would be were, which is plural past tense. Since it's negative, we put the adverb not between were and waiting. If we want to make the form a contraction, we take the were and waiting and we contract the word not. So it becomes weren't. They weren't waiting. Number 4, was she wearing a coat when she went out? She is the subject and it is singular, so the appropriate form of the verb be is was, which is singular past tense. Since this is in the form of a question, we put the verb be first, and then the subject, and then the base form of the verb plus ing. Number 5, the sun was shining when I left for work. The subject is sun, and that is singular, so the appropriate form of the verb be is was, which is singular past tense. Number 6, what were you doing at 7:30 last night? The subject is you, which is second person, so the appropriate form of the verb be would be were, which is second person past tense. Since the sentence is in the form of a question, the verb be comes before the subject. What were you doing? Number 7, I was not listening when you gave the instructions. I is the subject, which is singular, so the appropriate form of the verb be would be was, which is singular past tense. Since the sentence is negative, the adverb not is put between the verb was and listening. If you want to make the sentence a contraction, you would take the verb was, add the contracted word not, and then have your word listening. I wasn't listening. Number 8, we were not watching TV when you phoned. We is the subject and it is plural, so the appropriate form of the verb be is were, which is plural past tense. Since it's a negative formation, we put the adverb not between the verb were and watching. If you want to make it a contraction, you would add the contracted form of the word not, N', to the end of the verb were. We weren't watching TV when you phoned. Let's do another exercise. Page 129, Part 2B, Exercise B. In this exercise, you should complete the sentences with a verb in the past simple or past continuous. Number 1, I blank my arm when I blank football, using the verbs break and play. Number 2, blank you blank fast when the police blank you, using the verbs drive and stop. Number 3, it blank when we blank the pub, using the verbs snow and leave. Number 4, I blank the match because I blank, using the verbs not see and work. Number 5, when you blank me, I blank to my boss, using the verbs call and talk. Number 6, we blank in Cambridge when we blank, using the verbs study and meet. Number 7, blank they blank in Rome when they blank their first baby, using the verbs live and have. Pause the video now and complete the exercises on your own. Start the video again when you have completed the exercises. Let's work on the answers together. Number 1, I broke my arm when I was playing football. Broke is past simple and was playing is past continuous. Number 2, were you driving fast when the police stopped you? Were driving is past continuous and stopped is past simple. Number 3, it was snowing when we left the pub. Was snowing is past continuous and left is past simple. Number 4, I did not see the match because I was working. Did not see is past simple and was working is past continuous. If you would like to make it a contraction, it would read, I didn't see the match because I was working. Didn't. Number 5, when you called me, I was talking to my boss. Called is past simple and when was talking is past continuous. Number 6, we were studying in Cambridge when we met. Were studying is past continuous and met is past simple. And number 7, were they living in Rome when they had their first baby? Were living is past continuous and had is past simple.